Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this session on the Manchester stand. I know we've had a few sessions where people have congratulated the team, but I'm unashamedly going to do the same again because I don't know about the rest of you, but when I walked in yesterday and walked underneath that arch, the hair stood up on the back of my neck a little bit, and I just felt incredibly proud. Again, just to be here as part of this delegation, just doing this conference so well, because it really is. Every year it just seems to get better. And the great thing is for me, we're passionate about our brand at Bruntwood, and I just see being associated with this as just so brand enhancing for us. So for everyone else here that's contributed into the funding of this fabulous facility, thanks so much. It is a great partnership, and certainly, as I say, for me and for Bruntwood, it's just such an important part of our year. So thanks to all the Marketing Manchester team as well. Okay, so welcome to this session on Circle Square. For anybody that was here last year, you remember that Ken and I had a really enjoyable session with Bruce Katz, who moderated a discussion around innovation districts. We've come on a long way since then. And we've got 15 minutes, and we'll do our best to stick to 15 minutes to update you today on just the progress that we've made at Circle Square. But before we get into the detail, here's just a quick overview of what you can expect from this joint venture between Bruntwood and Select Properties. Circle Square is 2.4 million square feet. It's a commercially led scheme, 1.2 million square feet of commercial space, 677 high-quality PRS apartments, 604 high-quality studio apartments targeted at the student population, 100,000 square feet of retail, 2 hotels, multi-storey car park, our own on-site energy centre, 250,000 square feet of public realm, and 187 large semi-mature trees. We're already on site with the first £11 million of the £23 million enabling works package. Has our eyes watering, that number, doesn't it, Ken? But the quality of the public realm and the facilities going into this development, I think, summed up by that number. The first 2 Vita student blocks, those are the monsters that you can see going up at the moment, comprise 280,000 square feet, and they're due to be completed in 2 phases in September, December. Ken will talk more about that. But the next big phase of the development will see nearly 2/3 of this site in place by the end of 2019. Which is a phenomenal phase of works. This will include the high-quality PRS, 2 commercial office buildings, the shops, bars, restaurants, multi-storey car park, the hotel, and that beautifully designed public realm. But it's not what Circle Square is physically necessarily that really sets it apart, but it's where it is in the heart of Manchester's Innovation District, Corridor Manchester, and how we intend to embrace this community, I think, that makes this development so special. Teresa gave us a few of the headlines this morning, but just to recap, home to over 70,000 students, the 2 most applied to universities in the UK, one of which is a top 30 world university. The national R&D centres such as the NGI, the Graphene Engineering Innovation Centre's Henry Royce Institute. It's the largest teaching hospital campus in Europe and home to what is being described as the biggest and most exciting experiment in public health in the world, the devolution of Manchester's health budget. It's also home to a number of arts institutions, Royal Northern College of Music, Manchester Museum, award-winning art and dance schools, 4 theatres, more than half a dozen live music venues, and they're all within this tight, compact area. So basically, Corridor Manchester is, as the Americans would call it, a huge mashup of science, tech, business and arts. And what we're looking to do with Circle Square is to create the community where this mashing up happens, where collisions lead to great ideas. As you can probably tell, I'm really, really excited about this development. The only thing probably I am quite as excited about is just where Manchester finds itself as a city at the moment, and the incredible pipeline of interest that we've got. So thank God it would appear that we've got our timing perfect, such that, in fact, our biggest challenge isn't funding or finding occupiers, but rather the physical logistics of delivering so much construction at the same time on the site. And so I'll now hand over to our partner in this development, Ken Knott, Chief Development Officer of Select Property Group, who is developing the residential element of the development and so much more besides. Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Chris. Good afternoon, everyone. And just to echo what Chris has said about the stand, it really feels like Manchester is absolutely on the global stage with such a remarkable presentation on this stand. So well done to Marketing Manchester, and Select Property Group are thrilled to be one of the major sponsors. As Chris has said, last year we stood here, words are easy, and we pledged an extraordinary new neighbourhood at Circle Square. We presented an extraordinary vision in an extraordinary neighbourhood, and we promised that we would bring forward an extraordinary product. Well, only 12 months on, I'm delighted to announce that that's exactly what we're delivering. Without doubt, the first phase of development, due for completion in August this year, comprising 700 student suites with an end value approaching 200 million, is the most extraordinary student accommodation in the UK marketplace. It's extraordinary because it has been designed in direct response to our research and customer focus groups. It's extraordinary because it has amenities of exceptional scale and quality. It's extraordinary because it delivers an exceptional community experience for the customer. And that's why students in Manchester voted our First Street residence as the very best student accommodation in the city centre last year. At Select, we continually innovate to deliver an extraordinary community experience for our customer. It's those ingredients that crowned again last year Vita Student the Insight and Feedback Award winner at the National Customer Experience Awards from a host of leading UK customer-focused brands. The award recognises companies which effectively strive to listen to customers and demonstrate exceptional evidence of applying insights and learnings to make a high-impact difference to their services. And the judges highlighted Vita Students' dedication to listening to students and treating them as valued customers, putting them at the heart of everything that we do. Vita Students at Circle Square will be the fourth iteration of this award-winning brand. The rich mix of amenities have been constantly innovated to respond to customer feedback and exceed customer expectations. And the latest iteration of the brand for Circle Square will include more study rooms in response to our customers' requests, more private dining rooms, Vita Student Bites will start rolling around the city, and breakfast to go will be provided for our students. And there will be a range of 5 new products, from cluster rooms at 16 square metres to duplexes at 40 square metres. The living spaces have been adapted to match customer needs. We've never done clusters before in the city, but our Asian and more specifically Chinese students told us they wanted to cook and eat together and they wanted a cluster product. But it's no ordinary cluster room. It's clustered around a beautifully designed and equipped communal dining and lounge area. And again, in direct response to customer feedback, duplexes, mainly for the postgraduate and more mature student, up to 40 square metres. And as I say, aimed at the more mature student. It's resulted in a range of products that are focused on predominantly international and more mature students, where community, experience and quality of accommodation and amenities are their primary considerations. For them, it's an experience-led lifestyle choice. Vita Student at Circle Square, comprising, as Chris said, 2 adjoining buildings at 12 and 17 stories, will be completed in August this year, and already it's becoming a destination. Our customers are people who thrive on the community experience, who demand an exceptional product in an extraordinary environment. And they are voting with their feet, as this accommodation is 40% let already before the busy traditional June to August letting period. Our vision has always been to create a beautiful place that will attract the brightest students and evolve an extraordinary community that will critically enhance the prospects of retaining and nurturing that talent in Manchester. It's an absolutely key goal for Circle Square, and it's a key goal for the city. It is customer-focused products that deliver an extraordinary experience through the operational platform that deliver extraordinary value in real estate. And testimony to that is our First Street residence. Since opening in 2014, it's delivered rental growth of 20%. It's been 100% occupied with a waiting list, and it's delivered a staggering 80% growth in capital value from 23 million in 2013 to 42 million today, and that's an absolute fact. And it's the same approach that has informed our next concept for Circle Square, which is in response to the private rented sector opportunity in the city centre. Now, at this point, I'm meant to introduce you to the Managing Director of Affinity Living, Helen White. But unfortunately, Helen is poorly, not seriously, happily, but she's unable to be with us. So you've got to imagine that I'm going to wear a blonde wig. I look hugely attractive, and I'm going to deliver a breathtaking presentation on Affinity Living. So here goes. We're all well aware in the city, and many of the people in this room are involved in the private rented sector market. So I won't dwell on that, other than to say it's probably the single biggest opportunity that's come into the city in recent decades. I just want to talk about Select's approach to our proposition. And as I've just highlighted, the starting point for any Select brand is the end user. And with Vita Students, it was very much looking at the requirements of the international student. With Affinity Living, it's about identifying who is the modern renter of today, who wants this accommodation, because we're very clear it's only by researching and understanding who's going to be living in the buildings and what their expectations are that will enable us to produce a product that is relevant, is future-proofed, and ultimately becomes the market leader. So what does the modern renter look like? Well, the growth in the rental market over the last 10 years has been driven by the 25 to 34-year-old age bracket. And with the average age of the first-time buyer currently 38 and predicted to be 41 by 2025, we had a clear age group to start researching back in January 2015. Coined Generation Y, this is a group of young professionals who want to live in city centres and actually enjoy the flexibility that renting gives them. They don't view renting as a second-tier option, but they view it as a lifestyle choice. And as digital natives, they've grown up at a time when advances in technology have moved at a frightening pace unlike ever before, and tech is fundamentally informing those lifestyle choices. They choose to consume, not own. Netflix, Amazon Prime, Spotify are very obvious examples of the trend. They're sociable and collaborative. They're the driving force behind the growth of cafe culture and shared workspace. And they're happy to question the status quo. And supported by technology, they don't see why they should be tied to a desk when they are just as productive working from home or a coffee shop. To be clear, we aren't saying that everyone who is 25 to 38 is the same. The focus groups we've run, and there are many of them, demonstrate a huge diversity in culture, beliefs, and occupation. However, there are many common characteristics and traits that exist, and it's these similarities that we've considered to assure Affinity Living delivers the spaces and services that directly connect with the people who will be calling it home. Finding a location where there is a concentration of like-minded people is obviously key. And Circle Square's location on the corridor, with its 70,000 employees working across science, knowledge, learning and research, is absolutely ideal. These young professionals, our prospective residents, want a vibrant living environment and not just high-quality apartments in a great location. They value spaces where they can make friends, share experiences and get to know their neighbours. That's called a community. They want a sense of place, which is why we invest so much in the amenity floor spaces within our developments and have such a low gross to net floor area ratio. That is a deliberate decision. They want spaces where they can meet for a drink, to chat and to chill, or where they can catch up with colleagues to work. They want private dining rooms so that residents can cook for their family or groups of friends and then sit around a large dining table with breathtaking views to enjoy it. A scenario that's in stark contrast to the traditional rented accommodation, which means eating off your knee or being squashed around a small table. But these social spaces are just the foundation. What really matters is how we activate those spaces through our operational platform, which helps turn the building into a community long after the designers and the contractors have finished the building. Cooking classes in private dining rooms, live bands, book launches, circuit classes in the gyms within the development are all critical to generating the community we aspire to create. And of course, it's not just about creating a community within a building. Engaging that community within the wider neighbourhood is also key. So movie nights on the spectacular green at Circle Square, to be built shortly, open not only to Affinity Living residents, but also to Vita students and the employees within the Circle Square workspace buildings. We believe that we are delivering a massive step forward for the PRS market in the UK and bringing real value to Manchester through that operational capability. Affinity Living at Circle Square will be 677 high-quality apartments and 1,500 square metres of communal and amenity floor space. Our unique approach to the rental market has gained interest from investment funds all over the world, but I'm delighted to announce that we have agreed, after long negotiations, detailed heads of terms with the Greater Manchester Property Venture Fund to deliver Affinity Living at Circle Square in a joint venture, meaning we will retain long-term ownership and interest, which will deliver a total gross development value of 247 million over the next 3 years. So with Vita Student completing as Affinity Living is starting in August this year, that's almost £500 million worth of development. So as Chris said, in 12 months we've achieved an awful lot, and Chris will now take you through what's coming on the commercial and retail side.
I knew we weren't going to manage to keep this to 15 minutes, but anyway, sorry guys. It's been great working with Ken and his team. A lot of the things that he said there in terms of the way they've developed the Affinity brand absolutely resonate with us in terms of the way that Bruntwood has developed with that customer focus right at the heart of it. So, in this phase, Bruntwood is planning to develop 2 commercial office buildings at Circle Square, one which is 170,000 square feet and one of 230,000 square feet. We've already brought to the market the 230,000 square footer, 12-floor building offering floor plates of 20,000 square feet to the market, and are in detailed talks with a number of potential occupiers, such that we're now moving at pace to bring forward that second building 2 and deliver the 2 in a single phase of 400,000 square feet. These buildings have attracted a lot of interest in the market. So why is that? Well, clearly, as we said earlier, the location is a major factor, but there's a lot more to this development than that make the commercial buildings here at Circle Square such a compelling commercial proposition. Architecturally, yes, they're stunning, and architects Field & Clegg Bradley have taken their design inspiration from the local Victorian warehouses, while inside we're carrying through a very lofty contemporary industrial feel. The reception will have integrated food and beverage proposition, which will morph from breakout space by day to event space in the evening. And this then in turn leads through to a floor of co-working, shared spaces and small suites. Above this then, the split floors will provide scale up and grow on space, while the floors from level 5 upwards are column 3, 20,000 square foot floor plates, offering quite the most flexible space floor configuration. And then finally, the 12th floor offers 10,000 square foot plus the outdoor rooftop terrace area. So Circle Square Commercial will deliver the flexibility for businesses of all sizes to develop and to grow in an enterprise-focused environment. The social spaces within the buildings will be brought to life with a programme of events similar to those which Ken described in the residential by a designated community engagement manager. And it's here that we're creating the perfect place for that mashup of art, science, technology to happen, as I mentioned earlier, and bringing all of the benefit of those corridor partner connections to the occupiers of Circle Square and vice versa. The creation of community, though, doesn't have to wait for the first building to be developed. We're onto it right now, and we will shortly be fitting out the Manchester Tech Hub in the Manchester Technology Centre, which from autumn of this year will offer soft landing opportunities for Manchester's data science and technology innovation startups and entrepreneurs to grow and expand in time then for the Circle Square buildings to be complete for them once they're finished. This hub at a lower refurbished price point will continue then over the next 10 years and reinforce the startup vibe in this development. Key to any development these days, above and beyond the buildings, are the facilities and amenities that wrap around these buildings and really glue the place together. And we've taken a seamless approach to the retail and amenity provision at Circle Square. And while Select and ourselves will own our own retail in our buildings outright, the pavilion buildings, which sit at the heart of the green, will be owned by the JV. And then there is a single strategy and approach to the letting of all of the retail, the stuff we own and the stuff that Select own, which will be led by Toby Sproul, the head of our retail team, to ensure that the retail operators across the whole development offer the right proposition at the right time to the Circle Square community. Supporting the commercial, residential, retail and leisure and the community offer is a new 1,000-space multi-storey car park on the Upper Brook Street elevation with above it what must be the best looking budget hotel in the country, certainly in my opinion. And then further to that, in the heart of the development, we're developing a new boutique lifestyle hotel at the end of the green. This hotel will also then have at its heart a vibrant shared space in the ground floor for residents, workers, students to meet in both the day and night. We're close to being able to announce both operators, but haven't quite got there in time for MIPIM. As with the office soft landing, we're also not going to wait for 2 years until the commercial buildings and student have been completed before we start bringing the retail offer to life. We're already well on the way, working in partnership with MMU School of Art and Architecture. We're delivering an innovative retail concept beneath the Mancunian Way. On the east side of Oxford Road, adjacent to Circle Square, our Afflex team will be curating a retail leisure proposition in a series of prefab structures. Whilst on the west side of the road, MMU will be using the space to showcase work from the School of Art, both in reality and also virtually through one of the many use cases of City Verve, the Internet of Things demonstrator. More about that at the session on smart cities on Thursday. Above these two very exciting areas, we're then looking with MMU at the Mancunian Way flyover as a blank canvas for a major piece of public art befitting this gateway into Corridor Manchester. And all of this just a stone's throw from the new £30 million international screen school recently announced by Danny Boyle, which will form part of the neighbouring MMU campus, injecting further life into Manchester's beating heart. So once again, apologies that we've run over time. I'd just like to finish where I started, just to confirm again, this scheme will be more than 2/3 finished by 2019. At that stage, Select will just have one more Vita block to build, which got planning yesterday, and you'd be delivering if it wasn't for those construction challenges that we talked about. And Bruntwood will just have left the two commercial plots, one of which where the Manchester Technology sits, where we'll be running the Tech Hub for the next 10 years. And then finally, plot 12, which is this one here on Upper Brook Street, which we've earmarked for a still to be identified major strategic facility for the city of up to 300,000 square feet. and we're working really hard with our corridor partners, the universities, the hospital and the city, in prospecting for this strategic occupier. On the face of it, at 300,000 feet, it's a big ask. However, with Corridor Manchester flying at the moment, who would bet against us securing an occupier in the not too distant future in this great city that is Manchester and in this great place that is Circle Square? Thanks very much, everyone, for time listening to us this afternoon.